Yo, what's up, everybody? Yeah, I was just thinking about how I've started this channel quite a while ago. It's probably been 7 years, I think, since I did MBTI ENTP videos. That's really trippy to say. But, yeah, these days, cognitive typology has been my community. I have to turn this music down. I wonder if you can still hear it. I don't know. I kind of want to still hear it. Yeah, so I've been a part of cognitive typology server forum for a little while. I never really post on the forum. I don't tend to have the patience. I'm just busy a lot anyway. But what was I gonna say? I've been typed there as SeFi, so extroverted sensing, introverted feeling type, and it's interesting. The framework that's laid out makes a lot of sense, and I get a good, what feels like a really fair description of my sort of character archetype in life, in a sense, and that's what I can't seem to figure out still, is that there's a sense in which that fits, but there's definitely a sense in which some of the ways the other systems categorize personality, like Kiersey, and the archetypes that he delineated, there's parts of me that still intuitively feel drawn to those archetypes more in terms of lining up with personal experiences and sort of a personal pattern that I can tap into in what I've observed of the various types of humans. And I kind of lost where I was going with that, but it's all a lot. It's a lot for me to try to grasp in what I would feel satisfied with as, like, fair. Like, I feel like it's hard for me to be fair with typology systems because it just feels like the amount of room for subjective I'm saying this and I'm already like, there's a lot of room for subjectivity and a lot of room for error, although the structure that's sort of coalesced among all these different minds, sort of independently generating their own systems and ways of categorizing humans, there's convergence, even if not attempted, even if not necessarily planned, even if among all the typology communities you have people and every single one explaining why so-and-so's system of thought's wrong, ours fixes this problem and sees it this way, and that's why ours is better. And then you have the group consensus, and, like, everybody's sort of, like, lighting up, and it's like, yes, ours is the answer, or at least the closest to the answer. And so we here in our group will continue marching on under this framework because this one is doing it from a better standpoint than that of the other communities. And then you have people write paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of theory to compete and to prove once and for all that their system is the closest to the truth, and here's why others are wrong, blah blah blah. Maybe that's a me thing, maybe that's a type thing. Maybe I'm it's weird because I respect and admire the pursuit of truth and the competitive spirit that it takes to sort of get there. You have to believe in your ideas, and you have to stand behind what you say, and you have to engage in these debates and these battles, and it's the process of the discovery of knowledge. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that if within the typology community it could be sort of more accepted that like all input is important to get a good map of the territory. I mean, if you wanted to represent the United States and you just got all your sampling from Washington and California or whatever, the West Coast, then, you know, you're not going to represent all these other places if you don't take in all these perspectives of like what people are like in Texas and what things are like out here, like what life's like in the Midwest versus what life's like in LA. And the point is, there's differences that like can't even be anticipated. There's differences that can't even be imagined because you don't have the framework to even wonder about a certain possibility that for someone else was something they were just born into, or it was just there. But if it was never there for you, you don't even know, you wouldn't even wonder if it is there. Because, I mean, why would you? So my point in that is to say that every INTP that's running a typology community, because pretty much every single one, the theory is an INTP. That's who's keeping track of everything. That's who's clarifying to everyone what the theory is and how to be consistent within their framework, and they're correcting everyone when they're, you know, everyone's in the chat or the YouTube comments or whatever, just, you know, like trying to make their understanding. It's like the INTP who like comes in and clarifies or whatever. It's like, no, this is how you stay on track with like what our track is. RTI track. This is RTI track. And then the INTP at the center of the community is sort of like the gatekeeper. So, with that said, I think it's interesting that among all these INTPs that, you know, there are still these very common threads in the theory. A lot of things line up. A lot of things are totally opposite, which is interesting. Like within systems, you sometimes have extroverted sensing and introverted sensing, extroverted thinking and introverted thinking. You have a lot of qualities that are seen almost entirely oppositely among different communities, and I think that's interesting. Because I'm not presupposing that someone has it wrong. I'm presupposing that the reason they see it oppositely is because they literally do. And there's some psychological reasoning for that. So if we keep taking all input, we'll eventually see kind of like where all these roads are leading back to. And, you know, more and more you get this data and you kind of can deduce what really defines an introverted function from an extroverted one, and how do they really interact. But there's a part of me that's still skeptical that it's possible to deduce this at all, that it would be possible to actually parse out individual functions from the influence of all the other functions. So that's another layer of complexity, that at all times TI is in some way interacting with FE. Like, in some way FE informs the TI, like collective values, for example. And so the TI focuses on things through a framework that are going to connect to their community's sort of lingo already, like the culture or the cultural way of seeing things. So in that way, that's how I see TI as becoming very subjective, because it's although it strives so deeply to be objective, and we call it objective logic in socionics, it's still tinged somehow inescapably with the FE values around them. And that's just like the objective ethics. Like, I'm trying to reconnect to this train of thought here. Anyways, I mean, that was just me getting on like the socionics tangent anyway. It's not really relevant. So getting back to the whole point of this video was like, wow, it's 7 years later. That's crazy. Maybe even more. I don't know. But I'm still here hanging out in type communities. I'm in cognitive typology, and I'm in a Kierzy server with David, Michael, I don't know his middle initial. David Kierzy's son, David Kierzy Jr. So I'm in that server, and I'm still interested in things like objective personality. What else? Mostly just because Dave matches up with my like intuitive stereotype of an INTP, and then Shannon, I don't know what her name is, the lady, ENTJ chick, she lines up with what I've perceived to be an ENTJ, like in the face, in the way she speaks and moves as a being, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't have the patience, the TI dominance to sit here and, you know, really try to lock in my own personal observations. Like, that's how I know I'm not a TI dominant or even strong TI person. Because I don't tend to take my experience and break it down. Like, you know, maybe I am a TI polar type in socionics. I don't know. I seem to appreciate when other people kind of have it broken down and systematized, but maybe I don't. Because it's always just one way. It's always just one way to do it. You know? So yeah, if I am indeed the SeFi, ESFP, but again, the systems don't match up, but still they kind of do. So if I match this whole ESFP archetype, trickster sort of person, which is funny. Okay, so in cognitive type, they link functions to archetypes, and SE is seen as the trickster. Who has SE trickster in the John or Eric Beebe model? INTPs. INTPs make up the theory. Okay, the SE people, they're opposite, shadow, total opposite type, ESFP. Oh yeah, they're tricksters. They're tricksters. They're just trying to trick us. No, I have the one right path. I know the way. They're sneaky tricksters trying to trick me, even though I know the truth. I walked the path and I made it. And they just don't know yet. But they will. They will know. And then they will see that it is my truth. That's how I see INTPs sometimes. So anyways, I guess that's the end of my rant. That's really all I got. So I'm actually curious, like, what your vibes or impressions are of my type. I've gotten anything from like ENFJ, ENFP, ENTP, INFJ. Some people even guessed ESTJ. Not ISTJ. Typically not introverts. INFP though is one that could be. That was my first MBTI test result. Anyways, so yeah, that's it. Peace out, everybody, and stay cool. You know, we're gonna get through this.